Hello knitters! Today I'm going to show you how to do my very favorite cast on. It is called a cable cast on, and it's a technique that you may have seen before. I'm going to show you how I do this as a Continental knitter, and I'll also show an English version. What we're going to have to do first is make a slip knot. If you're not familiar with that, I was taught a nifty little trick from a friend here. We wrap our yarn around our finger twice, okay, from the side closest to you away from yourself around this, okay? We're going to bring the loop closest to our knuckle over but not off of our finger. And then the next one we will bring over and off of our finger. And just like that, you have an adjustable slip knot. So I can open this right up if I want to, but what I'm really going to need to do with it is get it onto my knitting needle so that I can cast on. So now you'll notice, if you're familiar with the long tail technique, you're probably thinking, what are you doing? That's not nearly enough unless you're casting on a sweater for a mouse. And even that probably wouldn't be enough. What I am doing is casting on using my working yarn. In this first stitch, okay, it's the only one that's different from the others. I'm going to go into the stitch itself, okay, just like I was going to knit the single stitch here on my needle. I'll try and bring that a little closer so you can see, okay. And then as a Continental knitter, I'm going to wrap my yarn over the back needle and bring it through just like I was knitting that stitch, okay? Then I'm going to take my left needle point and put it right down into the top of the stitch that is on my right needle and slip it onto the left needle. Once it's on my left needle, right needle comes out, okay? Now, from this point, we are going to go between the last two stitches on the needle. So at the moment there's only two stitches, so it's pretty straightforward. So I'm in between two stitches, okay, show you a different angle there. All right, those loops are on either side of the bottom knitting needle. And I am going to wrap my yarn around and bring it back through between the two stitches. Now this is where it gets a little different, but it's really not tough. You're going to take your left needle point and you're going to point it towards you, and you're going to tuck it under the loop on your right needle, and then move it right over to the left, okay? And I'll show you that again. This time I'm going to show you with the wrapping technique, okay? English technique. So you're going to hold your needles, and I'm kind of holding both of them to maintain this cross shape. I've got fingers underneath my back needle, and then my thumb is bracing the top needle. I'm going to wrap around the back there from left to right, and then I'm going to bring the yarn through between the stitches, okay? And now that I've got that yarn through, this is a part you want to pay close attention to. I make this stitch nice and big. That's at least like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches wide. I'm going to put my left needle point underneath that loop, okay, from the front side here, the side closest me, and then I'm going to take the right needle out. Now when I do, don't pull your yarn tight. The temptation is to pull it tight right away. You can, it will still work, but it's much more frustrating and doesn't feel as efficient. If you wait, then when it's time to put your needle in between those last two stitches, you can easily see where it needs to be, okay? So now another English wrap, and bring it around and through, and you'll notice that I tighten that loop up once I grab my yarn there, okay? Left needle point towards me, under the front side of my loop, and then it's on my left needle, okay? So now I'm going to switch back to my Continental knitting. You can see I've got these stitches on my needle here. I've gone in between that big last loop and the one prior to it, okay? And now that my needle is in there, and this is the great thing, because I wait for my needle to be in there, this bottom needle is setting the gauge for all of my stitches, so they're nice and consistent. I'm going to wrap over, bring the stitch through, and twist it onto my needle, okay? So once you get the hang of this method, you can really kind of cast on quite quickly. You'll find a rhythm that works for you, okay? And I know I'm not making my stitches as big, but if you notice when I bring my needle around, I'm immediately tucking it in before I tighten. So I bring it through, slip it onto my left needle. My right needle almost doesn't come out of it entirely because I'm just going to go right back in between and tighten and through. Okay? And what you will see is that your stitches are now in a nice twist format. I got one little bit loose stitch back here, but that's all right. That's probably one of my English wraps. I've got this nice consistent twisted edge. Now some people worry, this end over here, it looks wrong. It's not wrong. What is happening is because you're drawing the last stitch out from between the previous two, it's going to overlap them, and that is exactly what you want. It's going to look perfectly okay. When you start to knit your work, it's going to disappear, just like this. See, it'll open right back up. But it makes for a lovely cast on that you don't have to guess and second guess and count every single time you try to cast on. There's no, do I need a yard? Do I need 2 yards? Am I going to have enough? You are going to be set to go, and as soon as you cast on that last stitch, you're ready to knit your first row. And there you have it. That is a cable cast on.